Hey everybody, so it's been a while since I've got on here and done some videos, and I'm going to tell you right now, the next series of videos that I do is going to be a lot different than what I've been doing. I've decided, that I can sit here and we can discuss the coon epidemic all day, which, trust and believe, that subject isn't dead right now, but it's just put on hold. Because we can sit here and we can address and discuss the issue of the coon epidemic as much as we want to. But until we realize who and what we are dealing with, and until we paint the whole picture, talking about the coons is pointless, because we need to figure out why the coons are what they are. And so that's the type of person that I am. When I got into studying psychology, it's because I wanted to figure out and learn why people do what it is that they do. There's always a reason why people do what they do. So in these next few videos, I'm going to talk about what we are dealing with as a race. And I think it goes a little bit beyond white supremacy, because that's a big problem. But I think what a lot of people are looking at is they're looking at the situation that we're in right now, and they're looking at the cops killing black people, and we all know there's racist people, and we all know that white supremacy is a big problem. And I think they're just looking at it for what it is right now. In order, and I said this in my last video, in order to really address a problem, you have to get to the root cause of it. So being a coon is a symptom of the bigger problem. So we have to take it all the way back and break it down piece by piece to see what exactly is going on, because it's much deeper than what a lot of people think. And this is just based off me doing a little bit of research. Because, I one day sat to myself and I thought, because they teach you one thing about slavery in school, but they don't teach you the horrific actions that were involved in slavery. Slavery wasn't just, let's take people from their country and force them to work and build a country for us. That was only a part of slavery. Slavery was basically a long-term strategic plan being played out. Because you can't conquer people without first studying them. You have to know who you're dealing with. And so to me, slavery wasn't some impromptu decision where, they just decided to go run into Africa and take tribes of people and enslave them. That's not what happened. What happened is that they studied Africans, they made a plan, and then that plan was set into motion, and it was a successful plan. And that plan being successful, in order for it to get to where we are now in 2015, and this is still an issue, is because when certain people plan things for a reason. Obviously, this was very important to white people when they set out to cause destruction and slave black people, and then build a country, and then sustain power for centuries, because they've sustained power and control for over 500 years. You're not going to obtain that without a well thought out, very detailed, organized, strategic plan, and then you have to have a backup plan. And so what we're dealing with is something much deeper than what you think it is. And in doing my research, and even to discuss it, it's emotional for me, because when you really think about what had to occur and the type of people that you have to be dealing with for this to be what it is, it's very emotional. Like, it literally grieves my soul to even research and find out who exactly we're dealing with. Like, I think that it's so much more deeper than you guys know, that it really just it makes me emotional, because it's a lot more to it than what people think it is. Slavery wasn't just about forcing black people to work for free. Slavery was about killing their souls. Slavery was about demasculating them. It was about beating them down to nothing. It was about turning their psyche into reducing it basically, even in adulthood, as to a child, a pitiful child. It was about suppressing their instinct to survive. And that's why you have so many people in these situations where when you see a Dylan Roof go burn down, go shoot up black people, you see black people forgiving. And all of that is a product of slavery. When you see black men going out and only wanting to be focused on having multiple women, it goes back to that plot of slavery. And I think you guys just don't really know exactly who you're dealing with. And until we realize who we are dealing with, you can't fight people when you don't know them. In any war, for any war to be successful, they have to go out and you have to learn who your enemy is. You have to study your enemy. And that's what happened, because trust and believe, white people didn't just wake up one morning, the Europeans didn't just wake up one morning and say, hey, let's go bum rush Africa and steal some Africans. You can't go in anywhere without a plan halved cocked, because you'll get yourself killed. So trust and believe they plotted this and they planned it for a very long time. So while I was doing some research, and whenever I will think about slavery and everything that it entailed, because it didn't just involve making people work. They were torturing their slaves. They actually built devices to torture their slaves if they tried getting away, because they had this mindset that these slaves aren't human. They aren't human, and so therefore they can do whatever they want for them. Now, you have to think of the pathology of them, because how are you going to deem them to not be human, but you procreated and made it with them? So that's number one when you think about the pathology. And that's why I say you need to look at the mindset of the people. We can change as many laws as we want to. We can protest and march as much as we want to. But as long as the mentality that led to slavery changes, you are not going to solve anything. We will not have progress. And that's why we don't have progress now, because everybody want to march. Everybody want to talk about money and building economies. Everybody want to do that. But no one wants to think about and talk about the mentality that led us up to here. Because the mentality is the root cause of the problem. Everything else, you're just trying to put a band-aid on the symptom. And you're trying to it's like someone has a brain tumor. Someone has a brain tumor and it's causing them horrible headaches. Rather than getting a CAT scan and an MRI done to figure out the origins of those headaches, without realizing those headaches are actually coming from this brain tumor, we don't deal with that. We don't deal with that. We don't get an MRI. We don't get a CAT scan. What we do is we just give them a Tylenol or an aspirin and send that person on that way. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to keep having headaches. The headaches are going to keep getting worse. Then they're going to start having different physical manifestations. They're going to be going out of their mind, because at the end of the day, they put a band-aid treatment on a problem and they didn't get down to the bottom of it, which would have been the tumors. If they would have corrected the tumors, the headaches and everything after it would have went away. With this problem that we have called racism, the root cause of the problem is the mentality of white people. It is the mentality. Racism isn't a problem that black people created. It is a problem that white people created. And until we get that clear and that straight, then we're still not going to have progress. Because we can sit here and criticize the black community all we want to. We can say black people are killing each other. We can say black people are having babies out of wedlock. We can say all this stuff if we want to. But at the end of the day, when Africans were in Africa minding their own business, we didn't have these problems. These problems are symptoms of a larger problem that white people created. So until you realize who you're dealing with, you can't put the ownership where the ownership needs to be. Now, the first thing that we need to discuss is the mindset of a group of people. And think about this. When you think about all the acts that went on for slavery, it went on for 500 years. This involved torture. This involved rape. This involved feeding babies to alligators. This involves them taking their family on trips to see people hanging from trees while the life's been sucked out of them. There's pictures of little girls at the age of 6 laughing and grinning while she watches someone strangling and hanging from a tree with the life sucked out of them, and she's laughing and gleeful as if she's watching Disney on Ice. These are the people that you are dealing with. These are the people that you're dealing with. Because think about you as a person. For you as a person to torture someone, to set someone on fire and watch them burn, to scan someone alive, to hang someone on a tree in the hot air so that they can burn from the sun and so that any animal can come eat them. Imagine what you would have to be as a person. What would you have to reduce yourself psychologically to? Or what would you have to tell yourself? Where would you have to go mentally to be able to do that? Because your normal sane mind doesn't do that. Your normal psyche is not to brutalize other groups of people. And you can't think that you're good on the inside while you're doing all these destructive, evil actions. So somehow in your mind, you have to switch off you have to switch off some lights in your mind to even get to do this. So that's what we need to be thinking about. We need to think about what type of people, and that's the question that I'm giving to you guys. And if you want to take it and you want to if you want to dispute it and you want to say, oh, this isn't true and this is just a theory, there's research out there. If I can do the research, so can you. It's called Google. Utilize it. Make it your best friend. Read a book and learn something. The information's out there. So if you choose to be stupid at this point, it's because you want to be. So again, because I'm not going to sit here and be playing these games of what about black on black crime, black people do this, black people do that. I'm not going to do that. At this point, I need to talk about and focus on what white people did. That's what I want to do. I want to focus on what white people did and how it is that they felt that it was okay to do what they did. And why is it that even now, when you see the Trayvon Martins and the Tamir Rices and the Mike Browns being killed for no reason, why is it that the majority of white people feel as though that's okay? They will justify it. They will try to find every reason in the world why this black person should have died. Yet the same thing can happen to a white person and all hell will break loose. So clearly there's a difference in attitude. Where do you think that goes back to? That goes back to the attitude that black people are not human. Now, when I researched, in psychology, there's two terms and two types of people. And you usually label your vicious serial killer. In American society, if you are this far off of what you deem normal behavior, which now we all know that normal behavior is if you don't kill people, you don't slaughter people, you don't do all these evil, atrocious things to people. So in psychology, you have two terms where what we would label those people as. Either a sociopath or a psychopath. Now, the sociopath is one type of person. That's a person who lacks empathy, but they're not incapable of feeling emotions. They're very manipulative. We know that they just don't feel remorse. So I'm going to give you 3 basic characteristics of a sociopath. And these are the ones that I feel like apply specifically to these slavery situations. But, you know, I'm not going to go so far as to say they're sociopaths because that is putting it lightly. So, a sociopath is a person who has a disregard for the rights of others. And think about these while I'm telling you these and just let the dots connect. They have a disregard for the rights of others, a failure to feel remorse or guilt, and a tendency to display violent behavior. Those are 3 characteristics of a sociopath. And then we're going to talk about a psychopath. A psychopath is something completely different. A psychopath is one of the most dangerous types of people. And I'm going to tell you what people in our history of serial killers that were put in these categories. A psychopath is a person suffering from a chronic mental disorder that's genetic with abnormal, violent, or social behavior. A psychopath is different because they're very manipulative and they're very easy at gaining people's trust. They appear to be normal. They're often very well educated. They plan out their actions very detailed. And this is pertaining to when they commit crimes. When they commit crimes, they plan out every detail of their plan to a T. They often have a backup plan to that plan. Their crimes are always highly organized. Whether they're violent or not, they're always highly organized. And you need to pay attention to these adjectives and what I'm explaining to you. They're highly organized. They always have a backup plan. They will offer you clues as to what they are doing, because you know what, they think they're smarter than everyone else, so they're going to throw you some clues out there to get you to see, so you can easily see what they're doing, but most people don't. And that's why psychopaths are very successful in what they do, because they will throw out clues. They're very manipulative. They're going to show you what you're doing, but you're not going to catch on, but because they have these plans and they have backup plans. Psychopaths also disassociate emotionally from their actions regardless to how heinous they are. Regardless to how horrific the actions of a psychopath is, they will emotionally detach from them. They do not care. It doesn't matter how heinous the actions are. They will simply emotionally disassociate from them. Psychopathic killers, this is what they do. They view their innocent victims as inhuman objects. Let's go back to that, those keywords. Psychopaths view their innocent victims as inhuman objects to be tormented and violated for their amusement. What does that sound like to you? Because what it is you're not dealing with a group of normal people. You're dealing, by psychological definition, if you add up the actions and the words of a lot of your forefathers, if you add them up and think about the fact that they said black people were what? Less than human. That's what they said they were. So, let's see it again. Psychopathic killers view their innocent victims as inhumane objects to be tortured and violated for their amusement. So when I tell you, look up those pictures. Look up the pictures of when they were hanging black people. The only thing that you will see on these people's faces is amusement. They used to have family gatherings for these people. They're bringing their families. You have 6- and 5-year-old kids looking at bodies hanging from trees while the life is sucked out of it. And they're looking at them for their amusement. They're looking at them for their amusement. These are some of your documented psychopaths. Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy. Which one of those has even scratched the surface of what was done in slavery? Neither one of them even scratched the surface of what was done in slavery. None of their actions even scratch the surface of everything that was done repeatedly in slavery. And these are some of your most famous classified psychopaths based off the definition of this. This is what you would have to be to slave people for 500 years. To cut up their body parts and put them in the windows of your shop. To rape them. To say that they're not human. To create torturing devices to put them in because they want to escape from this horrible bondage. Okay? To actually beat them skinless, set them on fire, set them out in the sun. So you know what? When Darren Wilson shot Mike Brown out in the street and left him sitting in the rotten sun, you want to know why? Because he has a psychopathic mindset. That's why. And this isn't my definition. This is your DSM-5 definition of a psychopath. Look it up. Look it up and compare it to everything that you know to be true for slavery. And then that will give you a clue as to who you're dealing with. And that's what we need to understand. Why are we overlooking exactly who we are dealing with? We are not dealing with a group of people that have empathy for you. We are not dealing with a group of people who see you as human. We are not dealing with a group of people who feel like you have the same rights as them. We are dealing with a group of psychopathic killers. That's who you're dealing with. That's the only way that you can explain it. And if anybody wants to debate it, send me the DSM-5 definition and characteristics of a psychopathic, and tell me one thing in slavery that didn't occur, that falls under those definitions. Tell me one person, one slave owner who couldn't have had to have that mindset to slave all his slaves. That's what I want to know. Because, you know, the thing is, you can sit there and say, oh, conspiracy theory and this and that. They don't teach you everything that has gone on in slavery for a reason. And that's because it's horrendous. It's evil. It goes past the point of psychopathic killers. Because the psychopathic killers that they have, the Ted Bundys, the John Wayne Gacy's, they haven't done even half of what people's done in slavery. But these are your psychopathic killers. So why is it that it's so far-fetched to believe that we are dealing with, at the very least, because psychopathology is genetic. That's the difference from a sociopath. A sociopath can be created. It can be environmental. A sociopath can be environmental. Psychopathology is genetic. So that's why this is what I'm saying we need to deal with. Because you're not going to tell me that you have a group of people that started slavery, and then slavery went on for 500 years and got passed down to every generation, and we're still here now where people have the mindset, that same mindset from slavery. But people want to say, these are just people. These are psychopathic killers, and you need to see it for what it is.